covering news across your hometown. We're working hard for you. This is WHSV News at 5.
As many of us get ready to hit the roads or the skies for the holidays, it's good to keep in mind that's not the only thing traveling ahead of the winter break. The Virginia Department of Health is reporting an increased number of respiratory infections like pneumonia and walking pneumonia this season.
VDH says the winter season is typically heavy in infections, but this year is different comparatively. Our Mike Staley has a breakdown of some of the numbers and how Valley residents can help protect themselves. He joins us live in the studio with more. Mike, what can you tell us?
Well, Chelsea and Caleb, like you said, this is that time of the year where many of us get busy and our schedules start to fill up, getting ready to spend time with friends and family. But the Virginia Department of Health is reporting an unusual increase of respiratory diseases, especially pneumonia, that may leave some people hospitalized. Now, pneumonia is a respiratory disease like COVID-19, influenza, and the common cold, but unlike those diseases, pneumonia typically lasts longer in the body. In fact, according to VDH, someone with pneumonia will have their lungs fill up with fluid or pus, which will obstruct their airways. Now that's called walking pneumonia because you're able to walk around and keep living the life that you do because it's a mild case. However, mild or not, VDH says remaining vigilant can help curb outbreaks in your community.
Now that respiratory season is officially in swing, I want to say that the most important thing that we can do is to take care of ourselves so that we can help take care of others.
Lisa Solid says respiratory illnesses are often transmitted through children because of public spaces like daycare and schools. Now let's take a look at some of the numbers we have here in the Valley. This is from Centera RMH in Rockingham County, comparing 2023 emergency department numbers in 2024. Now these visits are actually down this quarter compared to 2023, but if you look at the numbers there, pneumonia cases are more than double what the hospital saw last year at 26 patients. In those 26 patients, one of them was considered pediatric pneumonia. Now, VDH says the power to curb any outbreak is in our hands, literally. Washing your hands and frequently touched objects like counters, doorknobs, and light switches can kill germs before they get in your body. And VDH encourages people who are immunocompromised or have a loved one who is to take extra steps to protect them from airborne diseases. Chelsea and Caleb.
Okay, Mike, thank you. New at 5, Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin is making a new proposal that could help provide relief to millions of drivers in the Commonwealth. In his proposed budget, Youngkin is planning to focus on car tax relief, with plans to set aside $1.1 billion toward a car tax credit fund. According to the proposal, if you are single and make less than $50,000 a year, you could get up to $150 back in car tax relief. And for a two-person household, the income cap is $100,000, and you could get $300 back. The plan is estimated to affect nearly 2 million taxpayers in the Commonwealth.
Good news from the U.S. Forest Service today. The Big Levels fire in southern Augusta County is now fully contained. While the fire is under control, some roads and trails are still closed and will stay that way as firefighters continue working in the area over the next several days. You can find the full list of closures on our website, WHSV.com. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Aubrey Urbanowitz now. Aubrey, cloudy and cool out there, and we even have some rain. Makes me want to cozy up with a book or something.
I know, and the showers have been more limited today, a lot of that being more so across our northern areas, and that's where temperatures have also been on the cooler side. Elsewhere, we've kind of been on the dry side, and that's where temperatures have risen to around 50, some spots in the low 50s, and the bulk of the rain still kind of slowly working its way in, and I'm going to show you why in just a second. You can see kind of that line really more so moving across the Allegheny Mountains right now. Elsewhere, not a whole lot of rain, but we'll still have some showers working in this evening, but the reason why is because the flow with this cold front, the rain basically is moving more south to north as opposed to west to east. So it's going to take a little time to really still work in for this evening, but we're still going to have some scattered showers with temperatures kind of holding for most of the evening. We're really not going to start to cool off until the late part of the evening hours, and then we're going to start to clear out overnight. We'll have a very light breeze starting to pick up, so that will help to dry us out. The only area where we could see a little light icing would be across the Allegheny Mountains. And then we've got the next cold front coming in as we get into Friday. I'm going to show you who could see a little bit of snow. That's all coming up.
Now your First Alert traffic update, sponsored by Rockingham Insurance.
Let's take a look at I-81 on this Wednesday. This is the view from the VDOT camera at mile marker 283 in Woodstock. All traffic moving well so far, not seeing any accidents or delays to pass along.
Hi, Ethan Estrom here with some more news. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says a patient in Louisiana has been hospitalized with a severe case of H5N1 bird flu. The agency says the person was exposed to sick and dead birds in backyard flocks. It's both the first severe case and the first case linked to a backyard flock in the U.S. This virus is the same type linked to recent human cases in Canada and Washington state. While the CDC says the immediate risk from H5N1 bird flu remains low, the Louisiana case shows that people with backyard chicken flocks, hunters, and other bird enthusiasts should take extra precautions. According to multiple sources, the House Ethics Committee secretly voted earlier this month to release their report about former Congressman Matt Gaetz after the final House voting day of the year, a reversal from the committee's decision in November to keep it under wraps. The report was the result of an investigation looking into alleged drug use, possible sexual misconduct involving a minor, questionable financial activity, and other allegations against the Florida Republican. Gaetz has long denied any misconduct, calling this a political witch hunt. And the Supreme Court has agreed to hear TikTok's appeal to a law signed by President Biden that would ban the app this January if ByteDance, TikTok's Chinese parent company, doesn't sell the platform. The court will hear arguments on January 10th, just 9 days before the federal ban would go into effect. TikTok has challenged the sale or ban law on the grounds that it would limit U.S. users' First Amendment rights to free expression.
Thank you, Ethan. After weeks of collecting toys across the Shenandoah Valley, the Salvation Army distributed different gifts to families ahead of Christmas. Over 1,200 bags were given to families at the Rockingham County Fairgrounds today, full of collected toys and holiday foods for families to enjoy. Sharon Ingold, one of the Harrisonburg-Rockingham Salvation Army lieutenants, says her personal experience with financial insecurity helps her understand what struggling families go through during the holiday season.
When I was younger, a single mom, the Salvation Army was there for me. So to be able to do that all over again, it's full circle for me because I'm here as the Salvation Army to help others to have a wonderful Christmas.
She says the smiles on people's faces when they know their holiday season will get better is what keeps her coming back.
The Federal Reserve making its final decision on interest rates this year and offering some insight into where the U.S. economy could be headed in 2025. Karen Catha has a look at how it all impacts your finances, and she's live for us this evening in Washington, D.C. Good evening, Karen.
Good evening, Caleb. The Fed closing out 2024 with a quarter-point rate cut, its third rate cut since September, and keeping a wary eye on inflation, which is much lower now than it was 2 years ago, but not quite close enough to the Fed's target rate of 2%.
The Federal Reserve making its third interest rate cut of the year and the central bank's final call in 2024.
We're committed to maintaining our economy's strength by supporting maximum employment and returning inflation to our 2% goal.
Consumers looking to the Fed's last meeting of the year to gauge how quickly further relief on interest rates and lower costs for credit card debt, auto loans, and other borrowing might come in 2025. But inflation still isn't quite where the Fed or consumers would like to see it. The November reading of the government's Consumer Price Index showed prices up 2.7% year over year, ticking up slightly from October and further away from the Fed's target rate of 2%. At the same time, the labor market has remained resilient, with the U.S. economy adding on average more than 180,000 jobs per month so far this year. Mark Hamrick of Bankrate says consumers should expect the Fed to take things slow in the year ahead.
The safest bet seems to be that we'll see a slow decline in interest rates in 2025, but not rates that are falling sharply. And so credit card rates, no doubt, will remain elevated. And the people who really win in this game are those that shop around for the highest rate with their savings and those who shop around for the lowest rates for their borrowing.
And in their statement this afternoon, Fed officials now penciling in just 2 rate cuts for 2025. In September, they had forecast 4 for the year. That really underscores a slow, cautious approach. Caleb?
And Karen, what insights did the Federal Reserve offer on the U.S. economy heading into 2025 and the impact it will have on American households?
Well, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell said this U.S. economy is in a good place. In fact, he said that the U.S. economy, in terms of inflation and other major indicators, is in a little bit better shape than some other comparable economies around the world, like in Europe. But he also said that for additional cuts, they're going to be looking for further progress on inflation. This has been something that households across the country have felt for 2-3 years now. The Federal Reserve has made that progress. They're looking to make some more. They're trying to really balance some risks here, right? They don't want to keep interest rates so high that they throttle major purchases, both by businesses and consumers, and slow down the economy. But at the same time, they don't want to lower interest rates too fast and Americans go on a spending spree again that pushes prices back up. That's where the inflation came from in the first place. So still walking that fine line. But Caleb, investors weren't very happy about that. That's why we saw the Dow make that big downturn this afternoon.
Karen Caifa, we appreciate your expertise. Thanks for being with us.
It's time now for What's Your Perfect Gift, brought to you by the Virginia Lottery.
This holiday season is all about friends, family, and fond memories of giving or receiving that perfect gift. So tell us the best gift you've given or received and why it's so special.
You could win $22 Holiday Merry Money Scratchers. All you have to do is go to WHSV.com/contest and submit your answer for a chance to win. One winner will be drawn randomly each day until December 20th. Today's winner is Valerie Dove from Broadway, who says her perfect gift is spending time with her grandmother, baking Christmas cookies and candies, and putting together holiday puzzles. That all sounds so nice.
A classic.
Yeah.
Everyone loves that at the holidays.
Of course. And it's really those moments. Those are priceless. You can't buy that. You know what I mean? That's
Some of my
nice.
favorite memories, certainly.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, Valerie. A looming threat to a technology you use every day could shut down the nation's economy.
The stock market would shut down.
Yep.
Banks couldn't do transactions.
Nope. Radios on them cell phones wouldn't work.
So why doesn't the United States have a backup for GPS? When the news at 5 continues, see what our national investigative team discovered in Dead Reckoning.
This is WHSV News at 5 with Chelsea Church, Caleb Peak, and Aubrey Urbanowitz with your first alert forecast. WHSV, working hard for you.
What would you do without GPS? You may not realize it, but almost every aspect of our lives now depends on the faint signals from space. National investigator Brendan Keefe discovered the United States has no backup for its vulnerable GPS system, and he has an ominous warning from experts who say the nation's economy hangs in the balance.
There's a looming threat on the horizon.
The impact would be enormous, a very devastating cascading series of events.
Airplanes would be grounded.
But eventually, the power grid would stop operating.
First responders would have a hard time getting to emergencies, finding your house.
It is a $1 trillion risk that our economy is facing.
Our economy comes to a halt within a month.
Because we couldn't move data, we couldn't move people, and we couldn't move goods.
Is the government doing enough to address this?
No.
They're talking about GPS, the United States Global Positioning System.
The vulnerability of GPS, both jamming and spoofing, is a real considerable threat to the country and needs to be taken seriously.
Admiral Thad Allen chairs the nation's advisory board on position, navigation, and timing.
Our entire economy could sink if the civilian signal is compromised.
More than 24 top experts sounding the alarm about threats to the system. Until something happens, people aren't aware that there's a vulnerability.
Well, as what usually happens, you deal with the wolf that's closest to the door.
Where in the world are we? GPS brings us down to earth with precise location. But position and navigation are only half the story. The better question is, when in the world are we? GPS is the nation's hyper-accurate clock, and without it, major systems would go out of sync or stop altogether. It's about time to realize it's about time.
A failure of that timing signal from GPS could cause cascading blackouts across the nation because the plants that power your home are synced to the same GPS signal that is used to time every single trade on Wall Street.
These 31 satellites, if something happens to them,
We're toast. We're toast.
Do we have a backup system for this currently in the United States?
Not a single backup.
Brad Parkinson should know. He invented GPS half a century ago for the military.
And the average citizen doesn't ever see it. They don't even know it's there. They don't realize the harm that would be done if it suddenly weren't.
The GPS signal is so faint, experts say it's easy to jam or overpower with fake coordinates.
Over 1 month, there were 41,000 Boeing, Airbus, and other aircraft that were affected by GPS spoofing.
All of a sudden, an airplane doesn't know where it is. That's a problem.
We've had cases in the maritime where the actual position of a ship is shown to be inland.
Shown to be inland?
Yes.
Russia and China both have extensive backup systems, while we have none under U.S. control.
Our adversaries know we are at risk.
Phone companies propose using cell towers as a GPS backup, one of many land-based solutions.
The broadcasters have a solution to this?
Yes, we have. The solution is something that we call BPS, and that is for Broadcast Positioning System.
The National Association of Broadcasters invented a GPS backup.
The exact same timing signal that is transmitted via a GPS satellite, except we're doing it from a television tower.
The urgency is now.
It's all about timing and a signal as invisible as the threat just over the horizon.
Russia and China have demonstrated anti-satellite technology, but taking out the entire GPS system would require an extraordinary level of technological know-how and equipment. However, experts say the signal is susceptible to localized jamming and spoofing, which occurs every day. You can watch more investigative stories just like this one on Investigate TV Plus, airing weekdays at 4 right here on WHSV.
Well, we still have some rain showers coming in for this evening and then cooler air for the rest of the week. How cool it will be, that's all coming up after the break. But first, take a look at our VA 511 traffic cameras across the area. No issues on the roads so far, but always check the traffic before heading out.
You're watching WHSV. We stream newscasts live on the WHSV app. Your first alert storm team forecast with Chief Meteorologist Aubrey Urbanowitz and the Tiger Solar Doppler Radar.
All right, take a look at the wind across the area. Still on the light side. We're going to stay on the light side for tonight. As that front comes through, you may notice a slight uptick in the wind. The only area where we're going to have some strong winds overnight would be across the Alleghenies. That's where the winds are going to top about 30 to 45 miles an hour, but it's kind of a very small area. Outside of that, we're going to have a bit of a breeze across the ridge tops, but otherwise should be kind of about this, maybe in the 5, 10, 12 mile an hour range as we go into most of the night for tonight. That will help to dry us out after the rain, so as temperatures cool, we really should not have any road issues for tonight. Now, if we take a look at the rain, notice as I put radar into motion, we really have more of that south to north flow with a lot of the rain, which is why it is so slow moving as opposed to more west to east. So it is going to take its time moving through the area for tonight, starting to at least continuing to move through West Virginia right now, still kind of scattered, and a lot of this is on the lighter side. That's going to continue to fill in as it kind of slowly works its way eastward into the evening hours. Most of this, I would say, should be through about 9 o'clock for tonight. Again, it is still slow, so I may have to adjust that timing just a little bit more, but otherwise still a bit of a damp evening. Most areas should be able to pick up to about 1/4 of an inch, and I do think we'll have some spots picking up maybe closer to 1/2 an inch in a couple of heavier pockets out there. So again, still a decent amount of dry areas, especially into the Shenandoah Valley. We're starting to get more of some scattered showers into West Virginia right now. It's just slowly slowly working its way eastward for tonight. It's not going to last all night. Again, probably about 4 hours or so of some shower activity into the evening hours. Temperatures are really going to hold. They're going to hold pretty much into the upper 40s to around 50 degrees. The only exception would be some of our northern spots where we're still kind of on the cooler side. Hardy and Grant County, you're in the upper 30s. You're going to stay there. And then we've got some cooler air, especially across the Allegheny Mountains. So again, scattered showers work in from west to east for the rest of the evening. I think it's going to be a little bit slower than what this is showing us. But again, bulk of the activity should be working its way out around 9 o'clock or so and kind of slowly pushing eastward later on this evening. We still may have a few showers east of I-81 through maybe 10 o'clock for tonight. After that, we're going to start to dry out, and we're also going to clear out. So that's where temperatures are really going to start to cool. Again, breezy, especially across our ridge tops for tonight. Other than that, just enough of a light breeze to help to dry us out. Lows are going to be around 30 and into the low 30s. And for tomorrow, we're going to have plenty of sunshine. Highs in the lower to mid 40s for the day and pretty light wind. Now, as we get into Friday, we still have a cool day with the cloud cover. We'll see some snow showers for the Alleghenies late in the afternoon into the evening hours. And outside of that, yes, I would expect a couple of flurries and maybe even a few snow squalls for the rest of the Potomac Highlands and even into the Shenandoah Valley as we get into Friday evening. Won't amount to too much, but you may just see a few flurries coming down for Friday night. So your Blue Mountain Plumbing, Heating and Cooling 7-day forecast. Temperatures cool off quite a bit for the weekend and those overnight lows even into the teens.
Authorities in Madison, Wisconsin are still trying to find out what led a 15-year-old girl to shoot and kill a teacher and a student and injure 6 other people at her school on Monday. Police say the shooter, Natalie Ruppnow, who also went by the name Samantha, died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Investigators are zeroing in on her social media accounts and cell phone as they work to authenticate documents spreading online that some are referring to as a manifesto. Court records also reveal Ruppnow had a turbulent home life, with her parents divorcing and remarrying each other 3 times.
And continuing coverage on the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Prosecutors are trying to bring Luigi Mangione, the alleged shooter, back from Pennsylvania, where he was arrested after being on the run for days. Mangione now facing an 11-count indictment in New York, charged with first-degree murder and furtherance of terrorism and unlawful possession of a ghost gun. Mangione remains in custody in Pennsylvania, where he was arrested after being recognized at a McDonald's in Altoona. Mangione's attorney says he's expected to waive extradition in Pennsylvania tomorrow and could appear in New York the same day. If convicted, he faces a mandatory sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole.
When the news continues, we've got the results of the investigation into a fire in Waynesboro. Officials now saying they know what caused it.
And in today's good side, we go to a home in Mount Sydney, where the Christmas spirit is on full display.
WHSV News at 5 continues now with your first alert forecast.
All right, we'll take a look at some of our Christmas stats across the area. This is from our Dale Enterprise weather station, which has more than 130 years of weather records. This is on Route 33, just a few miles outside of downtown Harrisonburg. So our average high for Christmas Day is in the mid 40s. Our warmest, if you remember, was just a couple years ago in the upper 60s at 68 degrees. Yeah, we were baking that day. All right, the most rain 1973 with more than 2 inches of rain. The coldest in 1985. The high temperature was 18 degrees, and the most snow was in 1909 with 6 inches. I'm going to show you what you can expect as we head into your Christmas week, not just for Christmas Eve, but also into Christmas Day, and who has the best shot at seeing maybe a little bit of snow for Christmas. I'll have that coming up.
Now your first alert traffic update, sponsored by Rockingham Insurance.
Let's check back in on Interstate 81 on this Wednesday evening. This is the view from the VDOT camera at mile marker 240 in Mount Crawford. Lots of people out and about this evening, but no accidents or delays to let you know about.
Last Friday, a fire broke out at the Park Station Villas in Waynesboro. After an investigation, officials have now determined a cause.
Olivia Whitehouse spoke with the assistant fire marshal and has the story.
A fire broke out on Friday at an apartment on North Commerce Avenue. After an investigation, the cause of the fire was determined to be electrical. David Nichols, assistant fire marshal for Waynesboro, says there was evidence of overloaded extension cords in the bedroom where the fire originated.
Through the investigation, we were able to determine that there were multiple shorts of those overloaded extension cords in that room.
There were other factors that contributed to the fire.
Earlier in that morning, the circuit serving the bedroom tripped the breaker, and that breaker was reset by one of the occupants of the apartment approximately 30 to 45 minutes before the fire occurred. And the bedroom window was in the open position, which allowed a free flow of oxygen or fresh air into the room, which helped to fuel that fire.
In the building, there was a total of 11 apartments.
31 people lived in those apartments, and they have been displaced, and they'll not be able to return probably for, I would say, a minimum of several weeks to several months, because they are going to have to go in and make repairs to the electrical system throughout the building to ensure that's safe, and other systems are going to need to be verified that they're safe.
There have been multiple GoFundMe pages set up to help assist those who have been impacted by this fire. You can find those links on WHSV.com. Working hard for you, Olivia Whitehouse, WHSV.
Pagoa Valley Regional Airport's runway will be closed tomorrow for 2 hours while an aerial drone survey is being conducted. Heather Ream, SHG's Director of Marketing and Communications, says this is the final inspection after a runway rehabilitation was done over the summer.
This is just verifying that everything, the project meets the specs and standards that were set forward, when the project was designed.
Ream says the contractor had to work with the FAA to get the use of the drone approved. The runway will be closed from 2 to 4 p.m. Now it's time for today's good side. Instead of Christmas lights, how about inflatables?
Sounds good to me, Chelsea. Well, one Valley family has been putting up hundreds each year for nearly 2 decades to spread some holiday spirit. Amaya Mitchell has the magical display in Mount Sydney.
Almost every holiday season, this yard in Mount Sydney is filled with hundreds of inflatables like the ones you see behind me. But after 17 years, the James family tells me this will be their final one.
But I want to say thank you to everyone that stopped by and stopped by and talked to us and everything. And Merry Christmas to everyone.
John James has been decking out his yard with Christmas inflatables year after year.
My son was 3 years old at the time. He's seen one of them. And our very first year we had 6, and after that we increased each year. 3, 4, 5, 10, we buy every year.
James said it took him and his family nearly 2 weeks to get these 160 inflatables set up. Unfortunately, he says that this will be the last year for the display as he steps back to focus on his health.
17 years we've been doing it, and I had some health problems a few years ago. Now I got some more serious health problems, and I'm just at the point where I can't do it anymore.
As James prepares to close the door on his inflatable display after nearly 2 decades, he says the blow-ups are not going far.
I am going to pass some of these along to my grandchildren. We're branching out, let them start at their houses and build, hopefully into something like this.
James says the inflatables are typically up and running by 5 every night. You can stop by and see them in Mount Sydney. His address is listed on our website.
Well, showers are continuing to work in for at least the next several hours into the evening, but temperatures are still going to hold, and then we cool off substantially overnight. Take a look at our first alert Doppler radar right now, where we still have some showers in West Virginia. For the valley, it's still going to take a little time to work in.
Your first alert storm team forecast with Chief Meteorologist Aubrey Urbanowitz and the Tigers Solar Doppler radar.
All right, take a look at First Alert Doppler radar right now. Not a whole lot of rain activity, most of which is into West Virginia right now, but the showers are continuing to fill in again on the slower side just because the movement is more south to north as opposed to west to east. So it is going to take a little more time to move in. We'll have some scattered showers into the evening for tonight. Temperatures are going to kind of hold ranging from the upper 40s to around 50 degrees, and then we'll start to cool off, especially as the rain starts to taper off. So you can kind of see how the movement is really more south to north. We don't have a lot of eastward movement here. It is just very slow as the front kind of slowly works its way in. So we'll have some scattered showers through at least 9 o'clock. It may even be closer to 11, again, because this is just so slow moving for tonight. Showers will continue. I think most areas should be able to pick up at least maybe around 1/4 of an inch or up to around 1/4 of an inch. And then we'll have some spots maybe picking up to about 1/2 an inch. So again, kind of given the timing on this front, it is on the slower side, closer to 9 o'clock, maybe even 10 o'clock east of I-81. We'll see these showers kind of starting to taper off. The good news is we'll have just kind of at least a light breeze. So we won't have the fog for tonight, and even a light breeze will help to dry things out because temperatures will be cooling, and for many areas even around freezing for tonight. So that should help to prevent any road issues. Now for the Alleghenies, where we have temperatures at least even closer to freezing within the next couple of hours, we could see at least a light glaze, especially on some trees. Elsewhere, we won't see any of that icing for tonight. Across the area, we'll have a breeze, especially across the ridge lines for tonight. That's the only area where we'll have some maybe higher wind gusts pushing 20-25 miles an hour at times. But you can see temperatures overnight dropping to around 30 and into the lower 30s. Some of our low spots, typical cooler areas, into the upper 20s for Thursday morning. As we clear out, we're going to start with plenty of sunshine. In fact, we'll have plenty of sunshine for tomorrow. A few bands of clouds in the afternoon, but otherwise, it's going to be a cool day with a light wind. Not a bad afternoon for this time of the year. Still a good day to run errands, get things ready for Christmas, as high temperatures will be in the lower to mid 40s. So still a cool day, but without high winds, not a bad day to be outside. Now as we get into Friday, we've got the cloud cover, which will keep things on the cooler side ahead of our third cold front this week. We're going to start to see some snow showers for the Alleghenies by the later part of the afternoon. Highs will barely peak out right around 40 and into the low 40s. And then as we get kind of closer to sunset and into the evening, we'll see a couple of flurries, maybe a few snow squalls into the valley with temperatures, maybe a few raindrops mixing in, but temperatures cool off pretty quickly. So I would expect a couple of flurries and a few snow squalls into the evening hours, not just for the Potomac Highlands, but also into the Shenandoah Valley, and then some steadier snow showers for the Alleghenies overnight with maybe 1, 2, 3 inches of snow only for the Alleghenies. So your Blue Mountain Plumbing, Heating and Cooling 7-day forecast. Now that third front is going to do a number on our temperatures for the weekend. Highs barely around 30. The good news is we won't have high winds for the weekend, so wind chills really won't be an issue, but the low temperatures, 12, 13 degrees, that's
yikes.
Gonna hurt.
We have a few days to get some hand warmers, thankfully.
Yeah, hand warmers, pipes. We've already had some issues with the last cold spell. So just check those if you need to leave the cabinets open and all that fun stuff. Check that.
Definitely some good advice
Yeah,
there.
good point.
Thank you, Aubrey. Well, if you're looking to escape that cold weather this weekend and enjoy some holiday tunes, the vocal group Cordially Yours is hosting their winter concert. We'll be back with a preview of that show in today's Now on 3.
Well, we all have our favorite holiday songs, and the vocal group Cordially Yours will be performing some of those classic tunes this weekend for their upcoming winter concert. Here to preview It's the Most Wonderful Time for Peace on Earth is Artistic Director Scott Zane-Smith and member Sarah Weichel. Thank you guys both for joining me today. Very excited to hear more about the shows.
Yeah.
Glad to be here. Thank you for inviting us.
All right. So Cordially Yours is made up of people from all over our area and beyond. Scott, you're the artistic director. So tell me more about the group, how it works and that sort of thing.
Okay, well, Cordially Yours is made up of members that have been invited to be in because I know their musical experience or they've come to an audition. We actually have people traveling from as far as Stuart Straff and Ruckersville and Greene County, West Virginia counties. We have 30 total members. 9 of them are former students. I was a teacher in Rockingham County Schools, and I'm a professor at JMU in the School of Music. And let's say I think 5 of them are colleagues from JMU, and some of them are even parents of students that I've taught in the past also. And they, like I said, we come from all over, but we have a lot of fun every Monday night rehearsing. And I'm glad you mentioned the music. It's a variety of music throughout the entire concert. My mother passed in May, and her favorite was Andy Williams. So this season I have It's the Most Wonderful Time and Happy Holidays as sung by him. We also have other music that's very appealing to all audiences, anything from arrangements of familiar carols to a new tune that people may not be familiar with.
And Sarah, you're one of the members. It's your first time performing with them, I believe. So what can you tell me about your experience, maybe what you've learned, any favorite moments or anything so far?
Well, I'm one of Scott's former students. He was my high school music teacher. And so I sang in choral groups in high school and college. And so that's a deep love of mine. And I've known about Scott and Cordially Yours for a while, and the timing just wasn't right for me to join until this year. And so I'm so glad I did. I have had an absolute blast. Scott is just fantastic at really pulling together a great group of people and making practices and performances so fun and so special. And I think that's what the audience is really, this isn't just a group of people standing there and singing for an hour. It's choreographed, we're moving around, where there's some special guests. It's a lot of fun. So this will very much get people in the Christmas spirit. I know it has for me. So.
And those shows are Saturday and Sunday. So Scott, what can you tell us about where people can go maybe for more information if they're looking for that, or what should they know maybe before they arrive on Saturday and Sunday?
Well, both concerts are at Linville Creek Church of the Brethren in Broadway. That is my former church. I'm retired from there as their minister of music. It's a great place to sing because it is a stage. And as Sarah mentioned, we don't just stand up and sing as a choral group, we're also staged. But there will be information, I believe, in the Daily News Record this week. Concerts begin at 3, the doors open at 2:30. If you miss Saturdays, you can come Sunday. We also have people that come Saturday and say, hey, I'm coming back on Sunday. We take a free will offering to cover expenses also.
All right, sounds like it's going to be a great show. Thank you guys for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Sounds exciting, and you can watch this and all other Now on 3 interviews over on our website, WHSV.com. Just click on the News tab, and that will take you to the Now on 3 page. You can also watch them on the WHSV app for Roku, Amazon, and Apple TV.
As we head into break, a view from Massanutten Mountain from our Pepsi of Central Virginia Skycam.
Aubrey has another look at your forecast just moments away.
All right, just a week until Christmas. I can't believe we're saying that. And no snow, but it is going to be pretty cold.
It is going to be cold. You know, I think temperatures are probably going to end up around average for Christmas. So it's really thawing out after the weekend, to be honest. So temperatures possibly in the mid 40s, maybe upper if we get the sunshine. Right now, things are looking dry. We may have a system coming in the day after Christmas. So just kind of keep that in mind. But that's something that we're continuing to monitor. I don't see any big travel issues right now, but obviously that's something we're going to continue to watch as we get into the next several days. We'll keep you updated on the WHSV weather apps. You can always keep that handy. That is our local forecast. That is not computer generated. So we handwrite that and we update that obviously multiple times a day. So if we see something, or especially like a big change or anything like that, then we can go ahead and push something manually out and say, hey, you know, we got to change to the forecast. You might want to know this.
Thanks, Aubrey. When we come back, ABC's Zoreen Shaw has today's Medical Minute. Time now for a look at career opportunities in the Valley. Today's job of the day is entry-level engineer for Collabora in Elkton. You can find this and all other job opportunities in the Valley by going to vajobconnections.com. Conspiracy theories are everywhere these days, but a quick chat with AI could help people reconsider their questionable beliefs. ABC's Zoreen Shaw has today's Medical Minute.
Artificial intelligence could be a useful tool in the fight against conspiracy theories. As many as 50% of Americans believe in conspiracy theories, and a new study suggests that chatting with an AI may be the solution. Researchers at MIT developed a ChatGPT powered with evidence based on facts and logic. They found that talking with the AI reduced conspiratorial beliefs by as much as 20%. It even worked for people who felt strongly about their views and for those who subscribed to as many as 15 widespread conspiracy theories. The information given by the chatbot was truthful 99% of the time, according to researchers. They suggest additional studies are needed to determine whether a truth bot would be effective at changing people's minds outside the lab. Until then, try to fact-check everything you read with reliable sources. It may give you a different perspective. With this Medical Minute, I'm Zoreen Shah.
Thanks for joining us at 5. The news continues next at 6. Now what you can expect later this evening on WHSV.